All right, everybody. All right, everybody. Can you hear me? As always, we're gonna do a little bit of a sound and quality check. If there's already people in here hearing me, cruising in, whatever, please let me know how what the quality is like and everything. Loud and clear, says Santiago Giraldo. Thanks for the feedback. Very appreciated. It's good. Abdullahi Mohammed says it's good. Nice. Very nice. The thing is, we're trying something new today because, as you can see, we've got a nice little Rode Video Mic Pro going on here, which is what I'm normally using for making my voiceovers and stuff like that for the normal videos. And I thought, hey, you know, why not? Because I was watching a couple of the last streams that I did, and the thing that was, I don't know, criticizable the most, in my opinion, is that the sound quality was kind of bad. Okay, so I thought, okay, well, why not try to clink the Rode Video Mic Pro into the laptop while I'm streaming, and maybe it picks it up, the YouTube thing. So it seems to work, huh? Sounds better, yeah, says Matteo Lunelli. Thanks very much for this feedback. Okay, so while we're waiting until some people are cruising in here, why not talk about our day today? We went to the beach today. Today was a rest day, actually. It's a complete rest, no training whatsoever. We started with some grocery shopping. It was amazing. You know, one thing that I really, really love about this village that I am at the moment here in Greece, in Leonidio, is that you do not need to go to the supermarket to buy anything in here, right? You can get almost anything you want and very high quality, locally produced and everything, from small little food vendors on the main road of the village, basically. And every Monday, I think there is also a market even across the bridge where you can buy first-class veg stuff, okay, and also fruit and fish even, okay, fresh as it can be from the sea, right? So this is just amazing, man. And you don't even, you completely cut out the middleman, you know, you cut out all the transportation, the supermarket, the distribution, the logistics and all of that stuff. And you buy directly from the producers. So this is amazing. All right, this is something that I would have a hard time to find even at home in the area where I'm living now. Although I'm living now in the countryside, much more rural than I used to live in Vienna, right? So yeah, it's just amazing. And I have to say they have good stuff here in Greece, right? I mean, the feta cheese and the fish and everything like that. So anyway, we went for some groceries before noon, because what you also have to know is that they actually do a siesta or something like a siesta in from noon to, I don't know, I think even up until 5 in the afternoon, right? So during this time, all the shops are closed. You can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere, buy stuff anyway. And then they come back and reopen for up until 21 o'clock, I think, in the evening. So that's kind of cool. They chill out during when the sun is highest, you know, when it gets the hottest. So they just chill out essentially. So that's why we have to do our groceries in the morning to be then able to go to the wonderful beach, because today was a wonderful day. Lots of sun, man. And I think, yeah, really now the temperature is rising and rising here to where it's getting really, really comfortable around, like, I don't know, 28, 29 degrees in the sun or something, and 22, 23 degrees in the shade. It's just amazing to lie on the beach and, yeah, enjoy that stuff. So that was the day basically until now. Now we had our dinner, and now it's time for the stream, I would say. I've got my 2 receptacles here. I've got one normal receptacle here with water. And then we decided to, after the high success of the last stream of the Super Chat receptacle, this is going to be the Super Chat receptacle. So if you want to see the Super Chat receptacle, you have to bang out a Super Chat. And obviously also your question will then be dealt with in high priority, right? So let's go to the beginning of the chat and see what the people are writing. Look at this. Matteo Lunelli, even he asked the question before the stream even started, so we gotta prioritize that, right? Let's see here what we have. Questions, by the way, they can range from climbing, of course, to anything. Okay, the title is, it's not a coincidence that the title is Ask Us Anything. You can ask us anything. Okay, you can, maybe some stuff we cannot answer, but you can ask, right? You can try. And I think Mona should come here in a second as well. She was doing some vacuum cleaning down there in the small room, but she should come in a minute. Hi man, Matteo Lunelli. Before Corona, I sent a 7B Sport outdoors in one day. Now I can hang a 20 millimeter edge, thanks to all the... By the way, we cannot say the word because I think the YouTube algorithm does not like that a lot when we say it. So yeah, it kind of censors the topic a little bit, as you have to know. So we call it unicorn for now. All right, let's call it unicorn. Hey man, before unicorn, I sent the 7B Sport routes in one day. Now I can hang a 20 millimeter edge, thanks to all the unicorn training, one-handed for almost 20 seconds. For almost, no, not 20 seconds, 3 seconds. Do you think I'm ready for a day? Here we've got wonderful Mona. Do you want to say hi?
Hello.
Let me also know how her voice sounds through the wonderful Video Mic Pro. Now she's going away again. Okay. And I am ready for 8A. I would say, to be honest, if you can, in any way, shape, or form, hang one-handed on a 20 millimeter edge, you are ready for 8A outdoors sport climbing. Definitely. If you wouldn't, then you would have to work on your technique. And it's funny that you're asking that, because actually just today I was going through my comments on the channel and trying to come up with the topic for the next video. And someone asked me, the age-old noob question, so to say: when do I still need to work on technique, and when am I lacking strength, right? What am I lacking more, technique or strength? And I was just thinking about like markers like this, for example, being able to hang a 20 millimeter edge to decide, right, whether it's the technique that you're lacking or is it actually strength that you're lacking. And I would say if you can hang a 20 millimeter edge one-handed, so this would be around, I think around the middle Beastmaker 2000 edge, right? I think that one is actually a little bit bigger even, especially when we add the rounding to this equation. But anyway, 20 millimeter edge one-handed, in any way, shape, or form, you should be ready for 8A. If you're not, then you're just super strong and have crazy crap technique, right? Then you just work on your technique. You got to climb faster. You got to climb more precisely, stuff like that. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. Here we have someone with an interesting question. Versa773 asks, Manny, is fasting before projects or competitions effective? Well, it's definitely effective before projects. That's what I can say. Not so sure in terms of competitions. If the competition involves just basically climbing one or two routes, like a really short spotlight performance, like one or two routes or something like that, yeah, it could be effective as well. What I would do anyway is a refeed. Okay, so I would plan my fast in such a way that I ended the evening before the event, probably. So I would end it the evening before the event, get some refeed in, get a nice meal in with some carbs at least, so that your body gets a chance to reabsorb those glycogen stores, rebuilding up those glycogen stores. And then you hit it ideally next morning, right? You hit your event ideally next morning. If it's in the evening, then even get another breakfast in and do it in the evening. You could then go for an evening run the day before, actually, to make it even more conditioned. But anyway, yes, I think it's effective, especially if there is a very if it's a very spotlight performance that is required from you, like with 1 or 2 routes. If you're like going to a like these what it's called, the amateur competitions, where you have to boulder for 3 hours and you have to get as many problems done as possible to qualify even for the finals, stuff like this, then you will have to have more energy in the tank, right? So you can't go to such an event with half full glycogen stores, because then you're just simply gonna burn out, right? Colby Anderson asks, how do you make money? the also very interesting question. Just from YouTube, working at the gym and coaching? Yes, pretty much. At the moment, is actually only YouTube, right? Is only YouTube and my beloved Patreons, without whom this would all not even be possible, I can tell you. So yeah, special thanks to all the Patreons still supporting this channel. That's amazing, because the earnings are not exactly humongous. So without this additional income, it would be a lot harder to keep this thing going. But anyway, at the moment, since the climbing gyms are closed, right? Especially at home where I am in Austria, I think everything is still closed, although it's opening up really soon, I think, in May or something.
I don't know about the gyms.
Stuff is starting to reopen in Austria, as far as I know. But I think not the bigger sports facilities, right? So they are going to remain closed for some time. And during that time, I can't work there, obviously. So at the moment, it's just YouTube. But the thing is, at the place where we are right now, we have very little expenses, right? So this is how I did it since I'm 20 years old, essentially. Okay, so I only work at the expenses end, not at the earnings end. I think I realized quite early that if I wanted to work on the earnings end, then I would have to do something that I don't really like to do. So I have to work on the expenses end. And this so far has worked quite well, actually, so that I was even able to save up quite a bit, actually. So reduce your expenses. That's where it's at. At the moment, I'm just making an income from YouTube. Uli Donabaum says, Matteo, I'm climbing 8B and I can't hang one-handed on a 20 millimeter edge. Haha. This is exactly what I meant, right? If you can hang one-handed on a 20 millimeter edge in any way, shape, or form, you are ready for 8A sport, definitely. You just might have a little bit of grade respect still, because you haven't touched the grade, or you don't have a lot of experience because maybe you're a young rookie gun who's in who's in reality super strong but still doesn't know it, right? Because you just don't have enough mileage in. But actually, you are strong enough for this stuff.
Wow.
There's a lot of questions rolling in already, huh? Tech Tip says, I saw you on History TV, then subscribed to your channel. History TV? Wow. What do you think? Did they did they bring a Manny the Monkey channel shout out on History TV? That would be interesting. In what kind of context I was on?
History TV.
I don't know. I think it's
maybe not Austrian.
Not Austrian. No, not Austrian, obviously. But maybe some smaller YouTube thing, and I popped up there. Who knows? But yeah, interesting. Thanks, Tech Tips. Maybe you can comment down below again where we can see that in regards to History TV. The Mark says, I just want to come in and say hi. Love your work. That's amazing. That's appreciated. Thanks, Mark. By the way, if you want to be seen, if you want this stream to be seen, then I'm gonna be a rapper freestyler, as we saw today.
Spitting.
Yeah, spitting rhymes all the times, man. Oh damn. This is gonna be amazing. Anyway, what did I want to say now? Now I forgot what I wanted to say. if you want this stream to be seen by a lot of people, then hit the thumbs up thing, by the way, if you like it. Okay, you don't have to, but you can if you want. Sasuke Shagash says, hey Manny, my climbing technique is horrible. How can I improve it after the unicorn? The best thing, in my opinion, if you have the privilege to be able to do that, is to just go out and get as much mileage as possible, possibly a little bit below your limit grade. So ideally, I don't know, man, maybe your max on-site grade or something along the lines of 70% on-site. So at a grade where you can on-site 70% of the routes, right? And then just make mileage, on-site attempt after on-site attempt after on-site attempt. And if you fail the on-site, go for the second go and tick it, right? If it's 70% on-site chance, then you should get the second go with 100% essentially. So this is how you can create a lot of technique. If you want to do it in a gym, well, you just have to make mileage in the gym probably. So send a lot of routes. If you only have a bouldering gym with a huge traversing wall, you can also try traversing, right? You can also combine this really well with a 30-minute aerobic endurance burn, like where you're just traversing all the time. Just keep up a soft pump, lots of oxygen, lots of blood flow going, soft pump all the time, no hands rests, keep timing all the time, but you can also shake out on better holds. And this way you will soon feel, wow, it's much more efficient to backstep here, to drop knee there, to flag there. And sooner or later, this kind of technique drills burn yourself into your head. You can also just do like forcing backsteps on you, forcing flags on you, like all these drills, right? To be honest, with training climbing technique, it's really simple because there is not so much technique, right? I mean, if you want to break it down, it's basically drop knees or back steps, flags. These are the two which, in my opinion, you have to know when they are effective, when they are more effective than the standard frontal approach, right? And then we've got hooks and toe hooks and all that kind of more sophisticated stuff, which is really not that often used. I mean, it's more used in modern complex bouldering. But when it's for the outdoors, not so much, right? So it's really simple. Just incorporate these techniques into a mileage drill and you will get better. Uli Donnerbaum says, Manny, what are you trying in Leonidio? Capricorn? Unicorn? would suit your style, no? The thing is, I mean, technically, I'm trying nothing, right? Because we're not allowed to climb here. So I can't try anything. Yet. Next week, I just want to say, next week, my friends, glorious times are ahead. Very glorious times, because in Greece, they are planning to lift the regulations when it comes to outdoor sports, right? So how was the exact terminology? I think it's allowed again, right? Outdoor sports is allowed again. As far as we saw it, I think also swimming is allowed again. Yeah, they're planning to lift some regulations here next week. So that's going to be amazing, because I finally want to start making outdoor content again, right? So yeah, it's going to be awesome. Have I tried Capricorn? I have tried Capricorn actually last time when I was here. I can tell you this much. This was 4 years ago, and I felt that the route, it was surprisingly doable. I mean, actually back then it was still graded 9A, right? And I just had done my first 8C or something back home. So I really had absolutely no experience with the grade. I just wanted to climb the route because I wanted to try it, because the first part of the route looked surprisingly full with white chalk spots. There was a lot of holes, right? So I thought, this can't be that hard. I'm going to try it. Okay, I'm getting on the route and I'm figuring out the first 2/3 of the route is essentially 8A, maybe 8A plus or something like that, up to a just crazy boulder crux. And I mean, not even physically that crazy hard, but weird, right? Really weird all of a sudden, weird boulder crux, and it was fascinating to see that these moves actually occur in a sport route. It was fascinating for me back then anyway. And yeah, if I would have to grade the boulder is maybe 8A or something. Not that hard, but the thing with this boulder is it starts off with a really morpho move, okay? Really morpho move, super big move to the right. And if you're curious, if you really want to check out what this move is like, you can check out Dave Graham is trying Capricorn, the video on YouTube, which is, I think, pretty much a Petzl advertisement for the Greek, but anyway. He tries the route, and this is the first move where he falls, right? You see him climb, lots of cuts and stuff like that. Yeah, nice shots. And then he does this big move to the right into this Gaston, and there he falls. And this is a super big move. You have to be able to hit this Gaston and still step a tiny little foothold on the left side to be able to push yourself into this Gaston. And so far, I haven't found a solution for me, because just simply when I touch this Gaston, I'm not able to touch the foothold anymore, because reach-wise, it doesn't work out. So I still need to find a solution for this problem. Other than that, I did all the moves, actually. I did all the moves. And from the point where you can send the bowler as a whole, from, just the bowler to the anchor, which is, I think, 2 balls or something. I don't know, maybe 6 moves or something, out of which the first one is the hardest, this morpho move. After that, it actually gets a bit easier again. Then you could actually try it from the ground, but you have to send a power endurance 8A basically into this 8A boulder and then climb it through, right? So yeah, it's not so easy. But that's basically how the route is like. Tom H asks, "Hi Manny, how did you and your girlfriend meet?" Do you want to answer that, Mona?
At the glamping gym, of course. Where else would you meet Manny the Monkey? I did not go out that much before we met.
And what did you do at the climbing gym?
I teach children most of the time, and I do a little bit of climbing myself.
She's very good at that, actually. She's very good at teaching children, and she's also very good at climbing, obviously. But yeah, also teaching children.
I've got a good trainer.
You had a good trainer?
No.
In terms of climbing?
Yes.
Or in terms of teaching children?
Okay. Climbing.
Yeah, I try my best. But she was already pretty good before we met, right? So what is your red point limit?
I did 17A.
Was it indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors.
Outdoors. And it's actually, yeah. It was actually on the trip while we went down to here, huh?
In Begau.
Yes. Nee. We're so accustomed to the Greek language already, because you have to know in Greek, ne is actually yes, and ochi is no. So this is really confusing for all the German guys out there for whom ne is usually no, right? I mean, not in Austria. In Austria, it's just nah. But in Germany, it's like ni, or whatever. And yeah, here is actually yes. So yeah, 7A, pretty strong girl right there. Pretty strong girl, and still very strong with the belly now a little bit, huh?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So in the climbing gym we met. Davide Ross says, "Okay, I gotta take a sip from the non-super chat receptacle, I have to say." Yeah. David Ross, "I've been training lock-offs and I've been wondering which one is the best method, negatives, full, or 50 degrees lock-offs. I've been doing 7 seconds, 3 reps, 7 seconds, 3 reps of 90-degree lock-off with 3 minutes rest between sets." Okay. Interesting. For me, by far, the best method for training any of this one-armor stuff is you get a pulley system, all right? You get a pulley system with a nice, clean pulley, right? Which does not have a lot of friction. And you build yourself some sort of hook or something where you can add weights, right? Ideally something where you can pour water in or something like that, where you can really just incrementally always increase the weight or actually decrease the weight, because it's going to be assisting weight then when it runs through a pulley, right? You can always decrease the weight up to like with an accuracy of 20 grams or something like that, right? Because this way you will be able to track your progress. And this is just amazing for this lock-off kind of stuff, right? So you decrease your assisting weight all the time, just, a pebble in the bucket all the time. And at some point you're going to be strong enough to just simply do it. Whether it's on an edge or it's just because you want to get the one armor done on a jug, on a bar, or whatever you want to train for. With these lock-offs, in my opinion, that's the way to go. Get a pulley system and reduce your assisting weight just very slightly with every session. And what you do, in my opinion, one rep, right? One assisted rep, just a complete one arm pull up, whether it's on an edge, on a bar, doesn't really matter. You just want to hit all the angles anyway, right? So why do separate angles statically? Usually you also want to have a one strong, consistent movement, right? So why do the angles separately? Just assist yourself properly with the pulley system and do just one complete pull up. Rest 10 seconds or something, switch arms, another complete pull-up, and then 3 minutes rest. I don't know, 8 to 10 reps per session, or sets per session, I should say, and that's basically it, right? How long takes such a session? 40 minutes, maybe 45? So this is really effective, and it doesn't have to be that long and complicated. Dmitro Yevtushenko says, "Hi Manny, from your point of view, why such stars like Adam and Jacob let themselves let go their hands from Grigri completely while belaying? We can see it in many of their videos. I just can't get it." Man, that's a very good question. It's a very good question because the idols, right, the pros, the stars, quote unquote, they should lead by example, right? They should lead by example. This is also the thing that I talked about when I talked about helmets in my helmet video, right? Why do we not still see all the pros with helmets? They are by far doing the most mileage of us all, right? So they are at most risk by far. And they are also doing extremely hard routes with extremely sketchy falls and stuff like that, right? It's conditioning. It's conditioning, in my opinion. If you've learned for just 100 million thousand times that nothing bad happens if you just put your hand away from the braking rope, which you should not do. Okay, you should not do that without question. But you've just learned it through your experience, right? Through your mileage, that nothing bad happens. At some point, you're just gonna leave that hand out because it's just a little bit less effort, and we all tend to be lazy. It's just our nature. And so we let go of that damn braking rope. But I agree completely. Even if it was just to set a good example for those who are not as experienced as yourself, you should always, of course, exhibit perfect, quote unquote, belaying technique and stuff like that, right? But who am I to judge? I do not, as you know, wear a helmet myself most of the time when I'm outdoor rock climbing. The reason why I do it like that, I've explained countless times. Countless times I didn't explain it, but I explained it in detail in that helmet video. You can check it out if you want. So yeah, who am I to judge, right? I can definitely understand their point of view. The thing with the rope, with the braking rope, man, it's just unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. It's kind of like this, yeah, we are the cool climbers. We have so much experience. We have so much mileage. We don't need that stuff anymore because we know nothing's going to happen and stuff like that.
That's why I like to teach the children to belay with tuba in the first place. So they really learn that the right hand or the braking hand. The braking hand is the important one, yeah. Because the children learn easily to let go.
Yeah. They're very lazy, right? So if anything is effort, then they just simply ignore it. And This is actually an interesting point when it's about teaching complete newbies belaying and stuff like this. There was a debate actually in our climbing gym whether we should do it just instantly with the gree-gree, because just simply the gree-gree is so much safer, right? It's half automatic, so you get that break when the climber falls in. However, you teaching these people from the beginning that their breaking hand is not that important, quote unquote, right? And is this the right approach? I'm not sure. In this context, we could also talk about the Revo just for 2 minutes. The Revo is a belaying device which is semi-automatic, where it doesn't matter in which direction you put the rope in. It will work both sides. Now, super great, you would think, right? Super newbie belaying device. Great, you don't have to care about anything. You just smash the rope in and it's going to work. Problem is when this person then gets onto a belaying device where it's required to put the rope in the right direction, you're going to have a problem, right? And the same thing is happening, you can say, if you're switching from a gree-gree to a tuber, all of a sudden, who knows why? Maybe you just forgot your gree-gree in the damn car or something, and your friend has a tuber with him. Well, then you're going to take the tuber, and if you then don't use your breaking hand because you're just so accustomed to not using it anymore, then you have a problem, right? So bottom line, just grab the damn breaking rope. Simple as that, even if you're a pro. Janis Conrad says, hey Manny, if my finger hurts where the A2 pulley is located, but only if I squeeze it there with my other hand, and hangboarding and climbing still works, what kind of injury does that indicate? I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you, and I tell you something, nobody can. Nobody can tell you for sure why it's hurting, okay? Sometimes we've got problems in our hand, but for some reason it hurts in the finger, and vice versa, okay? These nerve endings, they are not so specific, right? What it's telling you, though, is that you should definitely, that something is going on at least, and that you should take it a bit easier maybe for some time, right? If you don't feel it while you're climbing, well, that's good. That means you're not that far into it right now, and maybe you can just simply climb it away if you just reduce the effort now a little bit. If you keep stressing it, it will probably also start hurt during climbing. And then what I always tell people is stay below pain threshold. Stay below pain threshold. Don't do nothing, because if you do nothing and come back, you're going to feel it instantly again. It's going to come back, and possibly even worse than before, right? So you want to keep climbing, and you want to keep the stuff warm. You want to keep the blood flow going. This is how I healed all my injuries. Everything so far, apart from the strange elbow thing that I still to some degree have, which Mona healed to a great extent with her magical fingers. But yeah, apart from that stuff, with finger stuff, just simply avoid full crimps, keep it easy, stay below pain threshold, and climb it away, essentially. So what do we have here? The Mark VQ says, Manny, I do not have much to hang in my house. Damn, man. Sorry to read that. Mm-hmm. Is there any exercise I can do to get some performance in climbing? Yes, of course. You can focus on core, right? Core is always useful. Try to get better at things like L-sit, handstand ups, and possibly even planche attempts, push-ups and stuff like that. Planches, the normal, what's it called? Plank, I think, is the one where you rest on your elbows, right? So this kind of stuff. Core stuff is something that you can always do, which doesn't require any gear because it just requires a floor, essentially. And then also flexibility, of course. This is another thing that you can do without having anything, right? So is it going to increase your climbing performance a lot? Yeah, questionable. Probably some kind of finger training would do more. But if you're in such a situation, I wouldn't even bother to do some half-hearted stuff, okay? Just rest completely. In this case, rest your fingers completely and focus on other stuff. Because what you're going to see is when you come back, you're going to have an amazing progression curve, really steep, and you, with the new core and the new flexibility that you've gained during your rests, during your finger rest, you will be then maybe even able to push through your plateau that you've had before. This is something that occurs all the time if people get sick and they can't train for a month, for example, right? And they come back even stronger. It just takes a little bit of time to come back, right? A month or something, 2 weeks to a month. And then you will feel a new high, possibly, right? So instead of doing half-hearted stuff, I would rather go for this strategy and, then come back even stronger. Ante Podgorsek asks, "What is your recommended daily dose? Hey Manny, how did your opinion on proteins change now that you're eating animal products? What is your recommended daily dose, and how do you suggest we keep up with recommended dose 120 grams if we are doing intermediate fasting? I guess that means intermittent fasting, and only eat suggested 20 grams per meal. Thank you." Wow, super complex question. Right off the bat, I can say I don't track anything these days, right? When it comes to macronutrients in terms of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. I eat everything though with, I gotta say though, because here where I am right now, the quality is so good, with a bit of a tendency even towards animal products, right? So how often do we eat nowadays? Twice a day, correct. And what are these meals? It's breakfast and dinner, huh?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
It's pretty much breakfast and dinner, and maybe a little bit of snacking in between. And what we also have in between quite a lot, we had it quite a lot, orange juice, right? Are
Yes.
the oranges amazing in Leonidio?
Oh yes, they are.
Yes, they are, man. They are. So what we really like doing is just simply take 2 oranges out of our bag and squeeze them out and have a glass of orange juice. So there's a little bit of sugar in there just to keep the system running, to have a little bit of a snack. It's also very refreshing, right? Because during the day, it's getting really hot here already. And in the morning, when we get up, we have a nice breakfast. And in the evening, before we go to bed and brush our teeth and stuff like that, we have a nice dinner. And how do you like that approach?
It works quite well. I'm not very hungry during the day.
Yeah, me neither. Would I do that if I would have to go for super high performance in climbing right now? I definitely would do a lighter breakfast, right? Because what we are doing now, we are having maybe a little bit of a piece of meat, right, and some eggs for breakfast, and some bread with I don't know, a bit of butter on there. Tzatziki, of course. We do self-made tzatziki because the cucumbers here are amazing, and the Greek yogurt, of course, is amazing as well, right? So we do that, and maybe a bit of tomato, also a glass of orange juice, and that kind of stuff. So this is the breakfast. Feta, of course, excellent feta. I think that is actually raw milk cheese, right? They just get the milk in the morning from the what is it called? Is it really a farmer? I don't know if you could call it a farmer, but the guys who herd the goats around, right? So they get the milk from there in the morning, and then they produce the feta, I think, very locally in the village. So they don't even have a huge pasteurization facility or stuff like that around. I haven't seen one, at least. So I'm thinking, and because this cheese has a certain quality to it that I haven't tasted that before, right? It's really authentic, really amazing feta cheese.
And it tastes different. At every store we buy it.
Yeah.
They just grab it out of a big bowl of salt water, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it tastes different every time.
It's really amazing, yeah. When we buy a new batch, we compare the two, and they taste completely different, right? Completely different. You recognize that it's different salt content, probably, maybe a different herd of goats or whatever, yeah. So it's a real local product, and just amazing quality, and probably even from raw milk. So we've been having that quite a lot, and towards dinner, basically same story, just without the eggs, and some sort of maybe noodles or vegetables alongside with the stuff, right? Fish sometimes, yeah. Fish is amazing, of course. I mean, it's very close to the sea here. They're getting fresh fish, I think, in the morning, And from time to time, we pass by the fish lady down there at the main road and get something for us, and it's been amazing, man. Yeah, works really well. It keeps you really satiated, and you can just keep going throughout the day while minding your business, right? Just an orange juice here and there, and you can just function. It's amazing. But in terms of how many proteins I eat, how many fats, how many carbs, honestly, I can't tell you. I would guess it's definitely more than I did consume in my vegan days. But also the uptake must be completely different, right? Because when you're vegan, you cannot even absorb most of what you're eating in terms of proteins and stuff like that, right? Because there's a lot of fiber, a lot more fiber usually than with these meals that I'm eating right now. And the protein is also really harsh and hard and complex to break down. It's not so easy to break down, right? With these animal products, it's a lot easier. So there's probably a difference there as well. SM Monkey says, was gibt's zum Abendessen? What did we have for dinner? We had potato wedges with salt and pepper, a bit of seasoning on there, and I think 2 dips. We had tzatziki and a homemade ketchup, which I invented myself. And yeah, again, piece of meat, piece of feta, and that's what we rolled with, and it was very, very delicious, I have to say. David Ross again. Oh, and another question. You have previously mentioned that legs are not important, but what do you think about glutes? I heard that they provide flexibility, I guess, and front lever stability. Exactly. The glutes are very close to the core already, right? So they could be considered as core actually already. Does that mean you have to have super big glutes? No, obviously not. You want to have a super tiny chicken leg, soletti, stick figure, spring onion glutes, right? Stuff like that. But they should be strong. You should be able to perform, what do you want to call it? You should be able to transform your body into a board if it's necessary, right? Be as stiff as a board. This is going to help you a lot in overhangs. It's going to increase your reach while still being able to step on these very low footholds because you have the body strength to dig into those edges, right? Dig into those footholds. That's what you need your glutes for, and that's also what you need in terms of back muscles, right? That's actually why as climbers we have so many back muscles. One of the reasons is that we want to be able to transform our body into a board on these overhangs. So yeah, I would not do any squats or stuff like that to train your glutes because that defies the purpose a little bit. But if your glutes are getting stronger because you're doing some front lever training or maybe some handstand ups, why not, right? Hazabijan asks, do you think any professional climbers take performance-enhancing drugs? Hard question, man. And really, I mean, I would have to be really brave to give you an honest opinion here because I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, obviously. What I can tell, I mean, there's certain bodies out there, especially on the females, interestingly, which look kind of suspicious, if we're honest. But even that is, you never can tell this stuff for sure, right? You cannot judge a book by its cover. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It would be very interesting to me to see an honest, how can I say that? Yeah, it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say, right? I think it's not as heavily controlled as other sports, simply because there's not as much money involved, and they just simply don't have funds to run tests all the time on people randomly, because I mean, it takes personal, right? And in a sport where there's not so much money involved yet, they probably don't have just the capacities to test everybody all the time. So I guess in a sport like climbing, it would actually be still quite a bit more possible to be on these kind of drugs. But we also have to think about the fact that is when there's so little money involved, there's also little prize money, right? So would you be willing to take that kind of risk for this amount of prize money anyway? Would that pay off? That's the first question. And the second question is, what kind of performance enhancing drugs could actually be useful in climbing? I mean, there's obviously hormone stuff which increases your recovery, it lets you train more, right? And this is actually where it's at in a lot of high-end sports. You want to be able to train more as opposed to just being bigger and strong, right? A climber doesn't want to be bigger. A climber just want to be able to train more, to have more endurance, to be stronger, right? That's what we want as climbers. So if there's drugs out there that can give you that, possibly. But yeah, again, I'm thinking just because the prize money is simply too low, it really doesn't pay off to go that deeply into this kind of realm, right? Into this very sophisticated realm, because once you step into that, it's very complex. You have to do certain steps to avoid getting caught, right? To avoid the testings and whatnot. This will only be profitable if there is more prize money in climbing, which probably will be the case actually in the future, just simply because the sport is exploding at such a high rate at the moment. So I could imagine that in the future, let's say that. But at the moment, I don't want to accuse anybody. There's certainly crazy physiques out there, but Hello F says, yeah, I like the drug question. Yeah, man, it's funny that it's often coming up because also when we see climbers, they are extremely shredded, right? I mean, super shredded, super lean. That on its own, it speaks a bit for use of diuretics, for example, right? Maybe they are using some sort of diuretics to get rid of water weight, especially just right before competitions, right? To get rid of that extra 200, 300 grams or something, dropping that water weight down to be super dry. And yeah, we see these athletes, they are super thin. This is again another thing that I've talked about in that modern fitness and athletics versus health video. If you want to perform at that high level, this is probably not healthy anymore. You're taking off lifetime of your body. But I mean, these people know that, okay? If you have felt the impacts of this level of sport on your body once, then you know this is probably not healthy, right? They've probably been injured all over already, and they've probably have their aches and pains, right? Especially if they are already a little bit older. So they know what they're doing. They just simply like to do it. And each their own, right? Each their own, I think they say in English. So now I gotta take a sip from the glorious orange juice of Leonidio. Priscilla H asks, hello, haven't been a subscriber for long, but love your videos. That's appreciated. I'm a noob climber. Yeah, we all are. We all are, and we all are doing our best to get better. Let's improve together. And Dot says, can we get a bit on crack climbing? There's not a lot of cracks around here, and also not a lot of cracks where I climb usually at home. So I probably have to wait a little bit, but I try my best. Maybe I find something. Joel Hutter says, is the PAMP Meter really patented? Yes, baby, yes. It's gonna take a lot of coin, a lot of money to buy that off from me, I tell you. It's so patented, man. Can't even describe it. So for those who are new to the channel and you want to know what the PAMP Meter actually is, it is a device which shows you the current pump of each and every hand of your body, right? So while you're climbing through your route, you can see, oh damn, my right hand is much more pumped than my left one. I have to shake my right hand. This is what we see on the very detailed analytic rock climbing route episodes that I've put out. What are you doing, my dear?
I missed a point on my list, I think.
I gotta again give special thanks here to Mona, my just incredibly professional assistant.
What did you just talk about?
I forgot.
Did you?
The pampometer. The pampometer.
pampometer.
Look at this. This is the pampometer.
Yes,
And it's yes, it is patented. You can write that down as well. No, she's actually last time what she did without me even noticing, she wrote down the chapters of the live stream that we talked about, right? And then it can give you a chapter list down in the description of the video. So if you're watching this not live because not now because you're such a heretic and don't keep up with my live streams, okay, for God's sake, keep the hell up. If you're watching this in afterwards, down in the description and also in the first pinned comment, probably I will post a chapter list with timestamps where you can actually hit the live stream directly. So I'm gonna scroll down now and see how many questions we have at the beginning. And I think if there's coming enough questions, then I'm just gonna answer the most current ones right now, right? So let's see here. What do we have? Sorry if I'm skipping your question now as I'm jumping down the chat. Just simply type it again, okay? Helena says, hi Manny, have you tried to set route in Leonidio? No, I did not yet so far. Although it's probably, if it's possible somewhere, then it's possible here, right? They have a lot of gear and they have a lot of funding. And actually, there's still so much potential here probably. So you can just go outdoors and bolt whatever you like if there is something still to do. But so far, to be honest, I was just occupied with just simply climbing stuff, right? Because there's actually lots of good stuff here in Leonidio. Durgesh Prabhu says, hey, want you to collaborate with Chris Sharma and post a number. Message me on WhatsApp. Love from Spain. Wow, that would be cool actually. Collabing with Chris Sharma, that would be amazing. So do we have to write the time down? This is 52 minutes into the stream. There is coming a phone number possibly for Chris Sharma collaboration. Yeah, we're gonna write that down. Maybe you'll hear from me soon. Santiago Vasquez, do you train pockets? No, not specifically like on the hangboard or anything like that. No. Gabriel Marengo asks, thoughts on going vegan for environment? So you want to eat avocados from the supermarket because you're a vegan and you want to get those healthy fats in, right? Those healthy fats. Is that good for the environment? I doubt it. You want to go for these amazing foods, the mangoes, the bananas, to make your smoothies, right? You can do that because you're vegan. You just go to the supermarket, get your bananas, get your mangoes, make your smoothie. It's vegan. It's amazing for the environment, right? Not so much, my friend. Just because something is vegan doesn't mean it's environmentally friendly, and vice versa. Just because something is animal-based doesn't mean it's bad for the environment, right? This is the picture, though, that the mainstream is trying to portray. The reality is, though, as I've said in the last stream already, for example, to give a concrete example, where we are here right now in Leonidio in Greece. Leonidio is surrounded by shrublands, man. There are these plants here. I mean, olive trees and lots of olive trees and shrubbery with super hard sticks. You're trying to pass these brushes. You're getting scratched all over your face. You're bleeding. It's a horror story, right? So if you're going off path here, you're gonna end up with some severe injuries probably. but anyway, so there's this shrubbery which is surrounding Leonidio. No other animal, I think, is able to turn over this kind of biomass to such a degree as the goats that are here around, right? So there are these goat herds. They are either wild or they are domesticated. The domesticated ones simply distinguish themselves by having this kind of bell on them, so that the herders can actually hear where they are, and then they can gather them and bring them back to the farm, and then they send them out again and stuff like that. But there's also wild goats, right, which do not have any bells, which just roam free here. And they are eating this kind of stuff, pooping it out. There's goat poop everywhere, man. Even, you climbing up a 7B route, gripping into a pocket, and there is goat poo in there, right? So, as if a goat just climbed that 7B or something. Anyway, the goat poop is everywhere. And this is incredibly beneficial for the environment here. They are turning over the soil, right? They are putting nutrients back into the ground. I'm pretty sure if you would run a CO2 emission and absorption, study on this kind of land, you would find out that they actually bind CO2 and increase the topsoil, these animals, right? Because that's what they do. That's actually the biological purpose of these herbivorous animals. And no other, do you think a cow would survive in this kind of environment? No, because a cow needs fresh green grass, like we have in the Alps, for example, in Austria. Here there is this shrubbery, and these goats can eat this shrubbery, and amazingly, these goats also produce, kind of as a byproduct, right? They also produce milk, and they also produce this amazing meat. They are creating biomass, which is much more available to us, nutritionally speaking, than this shrubbery, right? So these goats are definitely not hurting the environment at all. If anything, they are beneficial for the environment, and trying to be local and consuming products which come from these goats is much more friendly to the environment than if I would go to the supermarket, which I can do here as well. I can also go here to the supermarket and buy a freaking avocado from South America. So do you think that is environmentally friendly? Not at all, man. Not at all. It's not that black and white. You have to look behind the mainstream message, and then you can decide for yourself, right? Tobias the DG3 asked, at what age do you learn front lever? Front lever, I learned actually not too long ago perfectly. I could do something like the front lever, which resembled the front lever already like 3, 4, 5 years ago, probably. But to be really properly able to do it just completely horizontally, I think 1 year ago or something. Yeah, I was able to. I'm scrolling down again fully to get some new questions here. TXL Cat asks, what's your take on antagonist training? What percentage of your training is antagonist? I don't know, maybe 10% or something. For me, antagonist is everything that's with pushing. So like the handstand thing, for example, push-ups, and also the planche attempts and stuff like that. This is for me antagonist training. In my opinion, do it because it is injury prevention. It helps stabilizing the big joints, right? The shoulders and elbows. But don't do it too much, because especially if you're tending to put on muscle with this kind of stuff, if you're the kind of upper body genetics guy who likes to put on a lot of mass in the upper body, then it will actually make you a lot bigger, right? All this pushing, the triceps, the handstands and front levers on the delts especially, and also chest. So this is putting some weight onto you. And as we know, we only want weight in our forearms as climbers, right? We only want finger strength, nothing else really. Anything else is just holding us back. Javier Yagds asks, what is the reasoning behind the high carb diet? Well, with a high carb diet, if it's very high carb and very low fat, you will be very insulin sensitive, you will be very carbohydrate sensitive, and you will take up these carbs quite efficiently, at least if your pancreas is still working and if your body as a whole is very athletic, right? This is what I did back in my high carb vegan days. Smashed a lot of carbs in, very little fat, and it worked to some degree, right? I had a lot of energy because I could store all these carbs and I could burn them all off during my exercise. However, I felt the issues that I had coming up with so many carbs and the lack of fat-soluble vitamins in the diet, lack of cholesterol even in the diet, right? The ability to withstand the cold and also to withstand the sun, and lots of details. I've mentioned this kind of stuff in other videos already. All these the teeth sensitivities, right? Sensitivity, strange things going on in hair and skin and stuff like that. So the high carb thing, it works in my opinion great if you are a athlete, especially endurance athletes, power endurance athletes, right? For these guys, the high carb thing works great if you can burn those carbs off, and as long as your pancreas works, you can take these things up quite efficiently, and you can also burn them off quite efficiently in your muscles. In terms of health, as I've discussed in the athletics versus health video, I don't think it's ideal. I actually think that a fattier approach is better for longevity and health and for the general functionality of your body. That's why I switched at some point, because I did my experiments and I found, hey, I'm actually feeling healthier that way, right? This is actually also something that fasting taught me, but super big topic. But yeah, high carb diets, if you can burn the carbs off, usually you're very young when you're attempting this kind of stuff, right? The older people get, the more they lean towards a fattier approach. And there is something to it. If you're getting older, we get kind of more sensitive to what actually hurts us and what actually benefits us, right? So if you're getting older and we find, oh, then again, these carbs, they are wearing my body down, I have to switch it up a notch. A lot of people actually have then the impression that a fattier approach is actually better for longevity. So much to scratch the surface here a little bit. Santiago Giraldo says, but meat requires 10 times more water than avocados, bro. These goats are living in the desert, right? I haven't seen any water in days out there. They are just eating these leaves, right? And in these leaves, there's probably a bit of water in there, and they suck it out. Or I don't know how they do it, right? There is no water out there. These animals just eat their natural diet, which is fiber, essentially, and water in this fiber. So I suppose they're actually getting enough water to hydrate their body from this stuff. Just like a cow gets almost enough water from eating fresh, proper grass, right? You only have to give a cow water if it's getting hay, because it's very void of water. But if it's getting their natural diet, which is fresh grass, fresh herbs, right? It's a herbivore, then they are getting enough water. Of course, if you're feeding the cows grains and you want to fatten them really quickly, all this unnatural stuff, right? Then all of a sudden these animals require more water, because usually these feeding crops, which are very dense in calories and don't have a lot of hydration, well, then you need lots more water to go along with that. But we're talking from an unnatural standpoint there already, right? Regenerative farming, which is what I think should be done where it's possible anyway, like here, right? You cannot even grow any crops there out in this shrubbery. What do you expect, man? If you try to do that, you can maybe yield one harvest of wheat, and then just the soil completely erodes and washes out, because these shrubs are actually keeping the soil together, and they are fulfilling so many purposes, man. So you can't do that. If an animal is on its natural diet, it actually needs a lot less water. And that's how much I can say about that.
Vegan question.
Another vegan question there comes from Nina L. She says, this is a very cliche picture of veganism that you portrayed. I think this question was mainly focused on reducing livestock, which is producing a lot of CO2. Yeah, man. The CO2 thing. Again, I think that these animals which are herding here in these environments, they're actually putting carbon back into the soil. And if they don't, it wouldn't matter, because still there is no other possibility literally than with them living in balance with their environment. They have been here all the time, right? These animals are grazing these landscapes throughout the ages, man, right? And I mean, if you look at the megafauna, man, the megafauna which grazed the earth before we humans even got up and got big, I mean, the crazy amounts of methane and CO2 that they must have emitted, it must have been crazy, man. Must have been crazy. Not to mention that we are not even sure what the CO2 and methane thing actually does in our atmosphere, right? If someone is telling you this with full certainty, they are lying. We cannot say for sure. This is an extremely complex mechanism that is at play here. There's a lot of inputs, a lot of outputs. If they are living in their natural way, there is no other possibility than being beneficial for their environment. It's not really possible otherwise, right? Yeah, that's
the same with plants, huh? If they're in the what's that natural
in their natural environment.
Yes. Then it might be good, but big cultures of just one plant are not good as well.
Exactly. And you have to ask yourself the question, in what direction are we going, right? Right now, the direction seems to be, okay, let's switch completely to the crops, right? Let's go more grain-based. Let's go more soy-based, right? Big crops. Let's feed the world with crops, right? You are just postponing the problem, which is probably not a real problem anyway. But let's say we're just postponing the problem. We are because that's the argument, right, from a lot of vegans. Okay, we're feeding these crops to these animals, and that's obviously we're losing a lot of calories in this process because the animal is not as efficient as taking up these calories and transforming it into usable meat calories, right? I know the argument. Now, well, the problem is, though, what are we really feeding to these animals is just the waste products that the food processing industry is leaving over. To give an example, I think with soybeans, it's the case. They are actually using, I think 80% of all soy goes to soy oil manufacturing, right, somewhere, which is, of course, used for processed foods. And then they are taking the leftovers from the soy oil production, which is these shells, right? The fiber and the protein that is left over from the bean. This they are taking, and of course they are feeding it to animals because you can't do really anything else with it. And then they are saying, well, all the soy goes to the animals. Whereas in fact, all the soy goes first to the soy oil production, and then they are feeding it to the animals. So, and the same is true for corn, for example, the corn husks, right? The corn husks, which you cannot cook anything with that as a human, right? But it's still valuable fiber for cows, for example. Cows can ferment that stuff in their stomach, in their rumen, and they can generate saturated fatty acids from that and take that up and build their biomass from that stuff. Now, are we feeding the perfectly fine corn kernels to the cows? I don't think that's the case for the most part. This stuff, again, probably goes to processed food companies for making their chips and Doritos and oil probably, yeah, again. And then it's claimed that this stuff always goes to the animals when it's in fact just a waste product. So the real problem, okay, if you're taking a close look at it, the real problem is the centralization of food production to a small group of big industry, right, which are doing big processed food stuff. A lot of transportation, gaining a lot of profit in a very cheap way, monocrops. This is also what's destroying the environment. This is what's destroying the topsoil. And of course, also they are also feeding animals with the leftovers of their production. But the thing is, if we would have just regenerative agriculture with animals, we would actually put back carbon into the soil, and there is no other way around it. That it cannot be different from a nature's perspective, right? And I think there's also studies done on that stuff. There's also countless people who are proposing this kind of stuff to undesertified, desertificated land, with grazing cows to poop on that land so that some topsoil can build up, so that plants come in, so that cows can come again, eat those plants, poop even more on the topsoil. Topsoil builds up, and this way we put carbon back into the ground, right? Look it up yourself. Don't believe what I'm saying here. The way to go, if you really would care about the environment and that kind of stuff, the way would be to only almost exclusively eat regeneratively raised animals, right? This is the way to go. And this is also, by the way, the ethical way to live, because then you're killing the least lives, if that is what matters to you, killing the least amount of animals. So much I can tell you about that. If you don't believe me, just look it up yourself. So what do we have next? Then we've got a lot of new questions. Here we have a question for Mona from TXL Cat. Question to Mona: did you do other sports before starting with climbing? What are your goals in climbing?
No, I didn't do anything else because I started when I was 14. So, but I always climbed just for fun. I never did it. I never tried hard, actually. Yes, I started when I was 14, going with friends every week. And I climbed not even 6A maybe back then. And I did it, I think, through the time, climbing a little bit just for fun, then 2 years of pause, and I didn't do anything in that 2 years.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of fight, Hapkido.
Nee.
Yeah.
Nee. Yes.
Just 1 or 2 years.
And dangerous woman. I tell you this much.
And then I got back to climbing mostly. A little bit of belly dance. Just one course.
Could belly dance be useful for climbing?
No, flexibility and moving body parts apart from each other. I don't know. And my goals for climbing are just having fun, actually.
Okay.
I'm not too try hard.
Not as much of a try hard approach. Yeah.
No. Just having fun. And sorry, guys, I cannot request training strategies because I'm not using them.
Come on, we will train her. We will train her together. We'll train her together, and we'll make epic videos about the progression. I have a feeling. What do you say about that? Okay. So there we go.
Highly pregnant girlfriend learns how to dynamo.
Yeah. 100 million views. Yeah. Anyway. Gabriel Marengo says, but most meat is from intensive systems which are out of balance, unlike the Greek goat.
That's the problem.
That may be an unfortunate truth. Yeah, right. But it's in the hand of the consumer, right? Change it. You have the power to change that. Novometics asks, what's your most favorite climbing spot in Austria? Right at the moment, it's the Grazer Bergland, actually. Couple of really cool cracks, short, bouldery stuff, power endurance. It's a lot of caves, a lot of cave portals, and just amazing power climbing there. Santiago Giraldo says, I'm talking about industrial meat production, which is how most meat is produced. Yes, man. We have the power to change it, as I said. Sure, you can produce meat sustainably, but there is no sustainable meat production to feed 7 billion people. I tell you what, there is no sustainable anything production to sustain 7 billion people. You want to feed 7 billion people with monocrops, you're gonna erode all the topsoil in a couple of decades, right? And then we are standing in front of the same problem. We're standing in front of the same problem. We are desertificating otherwise completely fertile land, right? This is what we're doing at the moment. It's crazy, actually. Crazy. Mein Blabber says, I'm an indoor boulderer and this whole situation is moving me towards sport climbing. I'm kind of confused by the different rope types. Einfachseil, Halbseil. What's the deal? Keep up the good work. Well, it's a single rope is usually what's used for sport climbing, right? An Einfachseil, single rope. The double rope thing is usually used only for alpine climbing, right? For multi-pitching. And even then, you can actually do multi-pitch with a single rope as well. But certain multi-pitches, you do the double rope thing, okay? I'm myself not an expert on the multi-pitch thing and on the alpine thing, but you can for sure look that up, in which scenarios you use that, right? Santiago Giraldo says, and in any case, sustainable or not, those animals are still getting killed, right? Just my opinion. You want to eat? You have to kill. That's the reality, man. No matter what you eat, you have to kill. Whether it's a plant or an animal, you have to kill it. And do you know how many animals getting killed for shipping an avocado from South America to Europe, for example? I don't even want to know, man. All the crop deaths, the freaking insects on the truck, right? The insects on the truck driving with this avocado through South America, the insects this truck collects, getting put on a ship, killing, I don't know how many fish on the way, how many shrimps in the ocean, just the transportation alone, man. So many unnecessary deaths for this avocado. You could also just eat one cattle per year, right? One cattle per year. I don't know. I think one cow has how many thousand calories? I don't know, right? One sustainably raised cow per year per person. This is 1 kill per year. Okay, think about that. 1 kill per year. I cannot think of anything more ethical than that. If the amount of kills is what really matters to you, which in itself is already questionable, right? Because this is a really man-made approach to ethics. That's what ethics are all about, right? It's a man-made moral construct. But if you really wanted to do it about the kills, then you almost have to eat big, regeneratively raised animals. There is no other way around there's no other more ethical approach there. Tom Remington asks, stuck on a desert island, would you take a fingerboard or a Campusboard? If you have a good Campusboard, then you have a fingerboard anyway, right? Because one edge of the Campusboard, one rung, represents a pretty good edge for fingerboarding as well. So I would go with a Campusboard then. The TXL Cat. Okay, this one we already have. Hello, I am Japanese. I can't pronounce your name, but hello back. Glad to have you on the stream. Let's see. We're jumping down again because there are so many questions again. Let's go with something more. TXL Cat asks, is Mona her real name? Mona in Spanish means female monkey, so not sure if that's a word play with Mene the monkey.
It's a coincidence that it's my real name, and I was laughing too when I found out that Mona is a female monkey. I like to climb, so I think it's okay. And doesn't mean Mona something like beautiful or nice or something in Spanish? Of
course it is. It means very, very beautiful.
No, see?
I just made that up. I don't know.
But there's something. Some Spanish guy told me that.
Yeah.
Maybe he made it up as well.
Yeah, the Spanish guys, they are really good at this kind of stuff, I think.
It was a married man. So.
Okay. Lukas Kohlbacher says, hallo, Grüße aus der Steiermark. Servus Lukas, Grüße zurück aus Griechenland. Janis Konrad says, hey, one more question. Once you have reached the amount of muscle mass you're happy with and you're at the point where you want to just get stronger, is protein still as important in your diet? Well, probably not. Probably not. To be honest, this is a question that I'm struggling with myself, right? Getting stronger beyond your genetic limit in terms of muscle mass, because what we don't want is have a lot of muscles as a climber, right? We actually want to be as lean as possible, as I've discussed before in countless videos. That's the muscle mass question. How big a climber need to be, right? It seems to me as if some people are genetically just much more able to grow a lot stronger without putting on a lot more muscle. Probably restricting protein is it's at least an option that you should explore, right? Maybe you can just keep your muscle mass the same, but just increase your intramuscular coordination. You could also do this with certain kinds of training. Not as much hypertrophy, obviously, anymore. Just go with very low number of repetitions, but really intense, and keep the reps really, really short to have just this max power input. And this should tackle your intramuscular coordination much more than hypertrophy, and therefore your muscles shouldn't get really that much bigger, but instead they should get stronger, right? At least inside of your genetic frame. As I've said, I think this is very due to genetics as well. Just some people are so crazy strong without having a lot of muscles, and this is of course what we want for climbing. While on the other hand, somebody does just a couple of reps of some stupid exercise and just gains a kilogram of muscle from that, right? Because his muscles respond so quickly to this kind of stimulus. Yeah, so much about that. Günther says, since climbing gyms are closed, I do instead parkour and calisthenics. Do you think I can hold my climbing level with this? If you don't have any possibility, any option to train finger strength at home via a hangboard or whatever, I suggest, as I've said before, to completely rest your fingers and go for core and flexibility. And then when you're coming back, maybe after even a month of rest or something like that, after a month of quality, proper, complete finger rest, you will shoot through the roof, man. Your gains curve in terms of power will be very, very steep. And with this new flexibility and core that you now have as well, you might be even able to crash through that plateau that you've had so long before. And especially if you're a climber who already was really hard struggling with the plateau at his limit in front of these strange unicorn times. If you do rest completely, if you manage to rest completely and get some high quality rest in, this is probably one of the best strategies in this scenario. Santiago Giraldo, I guess we'll have to agree to disagree. Well, as it often is, right? As it often is. Kara Hedgespath asks, what do you think about training pinches at home? My hangboard doesn't have anything I could use, and they are my main weakness. I actually built some pinch training equipment myself a couple of years ago, actually, in the meantime. Dude, I'm getting old, tell you this much. But honestly, I never was consistent and consequent enough to incorporate them in my finger training properly, at least. It's just basically two wooden blocks with hooks at the top, which I could hang into some sort of slings, and then I could pinch these blocks real hard and do some pull-ups or whatever I wanted to do. The thing is, I think if you're training the half crimp, which is the standard training grip that I always recommend to anyone who wants to train fingerboarding, right? If you could only choose one grip type to train on a fingerboard, on a hangboard, I would go with the half crimp. The reason being that I think that the half crimp hits all the other things as well a little bit, at least just a little bit, right? Also the pinches, because it's not doing this and this, it's not so far off, right? So yeah, in the meantime, I'm only training the half crimp because I wasn't able myself to incorporate the pinches consistently into my hangboard training. But maybe you can. If you do, then congrats. Maybe you can get rid of your weakness. Just try it. Yeah. Building stuff for pinches is really simple. You just need a block of wood. And if you don't want to hang your whole body weight onto 2 pinches, you can also just pick something up from the ground, right? Maybe a 6-pack or something. I don't know. Yeah, just something that you can lift from the ground and pinch.
Don't let it drop, though, if it's a 6-pack.
Yes, don't let it drop. TXL Cat says, yes, it means cute in Spanish too. Haha.
I'm okay with that.
We're okay with that. Ian Wyatt asks, Dream Route, Dream Boulder. Dream Route, maybe Action Direct. Although I'm a little bit afraid from that one. Dream Boulder. I don't know. I never really thought about a Dream Boulder. I'm not so much. I don't really know any real hard boulders that I definitely just want to climb because they look so awesome.
Das Bügeleisen.
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. I have to correct that. The Bügeleisen. The Bügeleisen. If any super hard boulder, then the Bügeleisen. But I'm not sure if I ever will reach that level. But let's see. We could try. Bügeleisen. This is just an amazing line. And also the whole history around it, regarding the guy who first ascended it, Clem Loscott, back in the day, the absolute legend from Salzburg, Austria. Yeah, it's just an amazing story, just this whole project in the Malta Tar, right? So if any boulder, then this one, where we have been. Dark Funny says, Servus Mani, planst du mal ins Altmühltal einen Trip zu machen? Noch nicht drüber nachgedacht. Asking if I planned a trip to Altmühltal. Maybe in the future. I'll try my best. Patrick Murgy, how comes you haven't tried moving to Innsbruck? Innsbruck. To be very honest, I wouldn't know the reason to move to Innsbruck. Why? To have a super huge climbing indoor facility? Climbing indoors is not what I'm looking for anyway, right? I want to have epic adventures outdoors.
He's not the hiking guy.
Yes,
Maybe
I'm also not the
reason.
hiking guy. You see, when people think about Innsbruck, they are thinking about climbing instantly. But Innsbruck is also the mecca for ski trekking and skiing and snowboarding and all the winter sport stuff. This wet, cold winter sport stuff. It's not so much what I'm into. I just like to be outdoors in nice weather in the sun with a cool crew, and I also have the feeling that it's very how should I say it? It's very commercialized almost, right? In this area of Austria, everything is very commercialized. The whole sports segment is very touristy as well. Lots of tourists are coming each season, and then they spend horrendous amounts of money on ski passes and whatnot. It's a big cash cow. It's a big cash cow for the Austrians in general, this whole area, right, with winter sport and whatnot. And I don't want to be a part of that so much, right? I mean, it's a different thing with climbing. The climbing is still, compared to that, it's still a low profit sport, right? But there, it's getting really commercialized. It's getting really pushed. We see a lot of climbers with the hats on, and with all the brands and whatnot. I'm not so much into this kind of stuff, really, right? I'd like to stay I like to stay where climbing is just this niche sport where you can still be lonely at the crag, right? And just have your fun, have your nice climbs there. So I don't really have anything in Innsbruck that I don't have somewhere else. Like, for example, in the Grazer Bergland in Steiermark, where there's a lot of better weather, right? There's a lot more sun there, a lot more good days, a lot more good conditions. And we're jumping down again. I'm gonna stay down now again. If you want me to read your questions, just post it again. I'm just gonna stay at the last few questions. Jason Derrick asks, how do you train your forearms? How often do you hangboard? 2 times a week. 2 times a week. Okay. Not more, not less. If I can get in 2 times a week consistently, I'm already happy. Iron Wyatt asks, good choice, Manny. Clam a beast. Clam definitely a beast. That's true. Auf Schuster's Rappen. Hi from Rhein-Main. I'm no advances enough to think about climbing, nutrition, and fingerboards, but I like watching climbing videos with calm moves and good instructions. Well, I hope you can find this on this channel. Thanks for your comment. Kara Hedgespeth asks, thank you. Do you have any ideas about training endurance at home as well? Without a climbing wall, it's going to be difficult, I have to say. Without a climbing wall, it's going to be difficult. To train climbing endurance, that kind of training, you need the most gear for, right? Because you need a whole climbing wall. Either a big one you can traverse on, or a high one where you can do your mileage. Okay, if you want to train endurance in terms of climbing, you have to do mileage. So don't really know how you can train endurance at home if you have just something like a hangboard. Then the closest you can get is power endurance on a hangboard, right? But even that would be better trained on something like a 45-degree system wall or stuff like that. Tanya Wanderfreak says, are you both from Vienna? I am from Vienna. Where are you from, Mona?
I am from Styria, aus der Steiermark, close to Graz, you can say.
Good old Styria. What is the city? Oh, okay. She doesn't want to reveal her address. Yeah, this is kept private. We're gonna respect that, right? We're gonna respect it. Philip Kotansky. Speaking of muscles, I tend to believe the default state for humans is to be slim or even skinny. You're onto something there, yeah. In terms of muscles, though, not in terms of fat, really. We should have a little bit of fat on, but we shouldn't have so much muscles. That's correct. Just think of it. For almost the entire history of humankind, our ancestors often experienced famine. I'm not so sure about that. Yeah, maybe they experienced famine. What I think is that we only should have as many muscles as we need to survive, right? And how many muscles do we need to survive? We should be able to go for a hunt every second day or something along those lines. If we're a bigger tribe, maybe it also is enough to go for a hunt once a week or something like that, right? Getting a really big megafauna animal back in the day, that was enough for the whole pack, and then the wolves as well and everything, right? So this kind of muscle mass, and also these kind of reserves, right? Reserves in terms of fat on your body. Having a bit of fat on your body has incredible health benefits. It's amazing, and it's also making you a lot more resistant in terms of natural impacts onto your body, right? It is a physical protection, a physical layer of protection, first of all, against impacts and stuff like that. It's shielding you against the cold. It's also shielding you against the heat to some degree even. And it's also, it's obviously an energy reserve, right? It's useful to produce hormones, all that kind of stuff, right? So we should have a little bit of fat on us, probably a little bit less if we are from the very, very hot climates, like the tropics and stuff like that. There we can allow ourselves to get really, really lean, simply because it's just not so cold there. But in the upper climates, we should have a little bit of fat on there, and probably not as much muscle mass. As I've discussed in the How Big a Climber Need a Be episode, putting on extra muscle onto your body actually increases your basal metabolic rate significantly, and you're burning calories, additional calories, just to uphold this extra muscle mass, right? So just that alone tells you that your body probably does not want to have this extra muscle mass, because it all the time costs him extra energy, and your body is very energy conservative, right? That's why we are lazy. We only want to spend as much energy as we need to survive. This is also what's going to generate the longest longevity, right? The greatest longevity, because it's less cell turnover, it's less enzyme turnover, less oxidative stress, all that kind of stuff, right? All stuff that we have less to buffer, have less to deal with, and it's probably what's going to lead to the greatest longevity. That's how I see it nowadays. So yeah, putting on these huge chunks of muscle is really just a really modern trend. Really, it has nothing to do with real fitness. First of all, it has even less to do with real health and longevity. So yeah, it's questionable altogether, in my opinion. Dark Funny says, in the Altmühltal, you could try the Face 8A Plus and the Kanal im Rücken 8B, both the worldwide first in their grade. Wow, that sounds interesting. That sounds really interesting. You're sure that they are world first in their grade? That's amazing. Why haven't I heard about this before? Stefan K. Servus Mani, Stefan K. Grüße vom Stefan aus Flatanger. Oh, hoffe dir geht's gut in Griechenland. Hier drehen alle durch. Stefan, mit dir bin ich geklettert in Flatanger. Das waren great times, mein Freund. So here we have Stefan, Stefan from Germany, actually, I think, which I met in Flatanger last year when I did my big Norway trip. And it was funny because I entered the campground. I was completely alone all the trip. I mean, not all the trip. I met people here and there and climbed with them. It was amazing. But I was on the road alone, and I'm coming to this campground. I'm getting out of the car. Instantly, another car comes by. Guy stepping out, German dude, and says, "Hey, I know you from YouTube, right?" And this is Stefan here, which I met in Flatanger, which was amazing. We had great times. We climbed a lot of routes there. Was amazing. I hope you're doing well. Everybody is going crazy in Germany, huh? Yeah, man. Strange times. We're living in strange times, man. I tell you this much. In Greece, it's not that bad because the people are in generally more relaxed, and now the sun is coming and everybody's outside. Really, everybody's outside and getting the sun in, and nobody's worrying too much here. I have the feeling.
At least on the countryside here.
At least on the countryside here. I don't know how it is in Athens and the bigger cities, but here it's almost like nothing is happening, right? It's almost completely normal, everything. The only abnormal thing that's going on here is that restaurants are closed. That's basically it, right? And there's also rarely any police or anything who enforces the restrictions or anything like that. So it's really a rather chilled approach to the whole situation. But I know it's not that like that anywhere, everywhere. It's funny to see how differently different countries, different geographies handle this thing, right? It's pretty interesting. Sehr niedrig says, best way to progress towards one-arm lock-offs. As I said before, get a pulley system, and then just put a pebble in the bucket. Every workout, reduce your assisting weight just a little bit until you're there, right? 1 repetition, both hands, big rest, 1 repetition, 10 sets per session, 2 times per week, and you're gonna be there eventually at some point. A Russian name, which is really cool. I always like the Russian audience. Is it important to bench press and deadlift to develop basic strengths? If it is important, can I do it in another day from climbing? No, it's not important. I never bench pressed or deadlifted anything in my whole life, actually. I mean, okay, I bench pressed some stuff in my life, but I have never done this consistently or anything like consistently. No, I have never done that, actually. And I doubt that it's helping anything for climbing, because it's very compound movements which do not really line up with the compound stress that climbing puts on your body. So you're probably going to generate a lot of excess muscle mass, which is not that useful for your climbing performance. So yeah. Tim's Lab says, come to South Africa if you like good weather with psyched crews. Yes, man, it's just super far away and I don't like planes. What can I say? Do you like planes?
Yeah, okay. But it's far. South Africa.
Yeah, the thing with...
Can you go in one flight? I don't know.
Yes, you can, I think. Yeah. The Rocklands are in South Africa. Have you heard of the Rocklands?
No.
Really, really big and famous bouldering area.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's huge. It's boulders to the horizon.
South Africa could be amazing.
It could be amazing, yes. I imagine it is amazing because I think it's really good conditions if you're there in the right season. And just endless problems and probably also bunch of psyched crew there, definitely. But getting there is really the issue for me, at least. And also, to be honest, I still have, in terms of bouldering, I still have so much to do where I live right now and where I have lived even. So there are so many boulders in Austria that you probably could boulder for a lifetime, right? So I don't see the need to really just hop on a plane and, with all this traveling. And we've talked about environmental impact just before, right? Mm-hmm. That's my thing that I like to do. I try to avoid planes. I try to go when I have to do bigger mileage on the ground. Then I do it with car, with my natural gas-powered Caddy Bro, which is just amazing, right? It's saving a lot of money, and it's also quite a bit more environmentally friendly. So yeah, that's what I like to do, right? I avoid the planes. That's big impact right there, right? Flying from Europe to South Africa, big impact. Russian name again, Bomma. Are the muscles awake you safe from injuries? I guess you mean do the muscles somehow help you to stay away from injuries? Yes. If it's from antagonistic training, then I would agree. Inaki Gomez, do you see yourself getting into alpine climbing in the future? Nobody knows what the future holds, but yes. This could be definitely something for the future. It's just, for the adventure thing, just for the adventure part. Grimpeur Heureux says, Grüße aus dem Frankenjura. Hast du bisher schon irgendein Erstbegehungspotenzial in deiner Gegend in Österreich entdeckt, das dich gelockt hat? Erstbegehungspotenzial. Asks if there is any potential for first ascents in the region that I am now in Austria. I guess so. Especially when it comes to really, really hard stuff. Other than that, I would have to bolt something. And I think for bolting, we don't have so much quality rock where I am right now, right? So usually if it's good quality rock and it's in a reasonable reach in terms of approach and stuff like that, it is usually already bolted. It's not like, for example, in Leonidio here in Greece, where you just have so much good rock that you can't even keep up with equipping that stuff, right? So yeah, I would have to do some really hard first ascents or bolt some new stuff, which is very unlikely. Rather, I do really hard first ascents, and this is also getting quite hard in the meantime because yeah, you have to be kind of a hardcore athlete to do that. Dwarf Peter says, "Hey Manny, do you still have used that car you built for climbing? If not, what happened to it? I still use it, man. This was one of the best investions. Can you say that? Investions? It was one of the best investions that I ever did in my life, this car. This car already paid itself off in terms of nights that I've saved by sleeping in it. I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
pretty
I
sure.
think so too.
Yeah, definitely, actually. And it's amazing because, as I said, it's very environmentally friendly. It drives with natural gas, which is a cheaper fuel than the usual diesel or benzene. So, yeah, it's very, very amazing. I like it a lot. Big thanks to the caddy bro. Caddy bro, if you hear this, caddy bro is standing a couple of meters away, so I don't know. But the caddy bro is amazing. Mar. I am fairly strong, and only thing holding me back on routes is forearm pump. Best training to reduce this. The routes I'm climbing are overhang mostly.